Welcome to the Drum Shuffle, a podcast offering insights, perspectives, and conversations for drummers. I'm your host, Jamie Eads.
Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Welcome to the Drum Shuffle. Jamie Eads joining you as I do each and every week. This is episode 88. I hope you're having a fantastic week out there. Really excited this week to bring you one of the up-and-coming drummers in the world in one of the hottest new young bands. We're going to be joined by Corey Coverstone of Dirty Honey right after this message from our sponsor, Los Cabos Drumsticks. The best-kept secret for drummers is finally out. Los Cabos drumsticks may look like the sticks you grew up with, but these are not your father's drumsticks. Los Cabos Drumsticks is Canada's #1 drumstick brand, and they are coming to a retailer near you. With operations in over 28 countries worldwide, thousands of drummers have already discovered the Los Cabos difference. Using FSC certified wood from Canada and the US, Los Cabos make the finest quality drumsticks, percussion tools, and accessories on the market. The best news, Los Cabos Drumsticks offers you a ton of choice. They have 22 individual drumstick models and 14 percussion tools, many of which are available in 3 different wood types: maple, white hickory, and red hickory. Red hickory comes from the center or heart of the hickory tree and has been independently proven to be both stronger and more elastic than white hickory without adding a lot of weight. While most drumstick manufacturers have shunned red hickory, Los Cabos Drumsticks has embraced it, becoming the only established stick brand in the world to offer a full line of red hickory drumsticks. To learn more about Los Cabos Drumsticks, visit them online at loscabosdrumsticks.com. Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and don't forget to ask for Los Cabos Drumsticks at your favorite retailer. Dare to be different. Join the Red Hickory Revolution with Los Cabos Drumsticks. All right, guys and girls, as I mentioned, we're about to be joined by Corey Coverstone of the band Dirty Honey. If you're not familiar, Dirty Honey is the one and only unsigned band to ever have a #1 single. They hit the rock mainstream charts, hit #1 without a label. This is a band that's getting it done. They have just embarked on their first headlining tour. They are selling out theaters all over America. If you're not hip to this band yet, you need to get that way because rock is not dead. I don't care what any of the critics at Rolling Stone or any of the other, Billboard, any of the magazines, don't care what they say. Dirty Honey is living proof that rock and roll is not dead in the year 2020. Corey's a great young man. He is not only a great rock drummer, but he studied jazz. He studied with one of our previous guests, the great Nate Morton from way back on episode 8. So we were really pleased to get Corey on here. Please forgive the background noise. We actually talked with Corey as he was in the van on the way to a gig out on the road. So it's a little bit noisy in the background, but we were just so glad to have him on the show. Help me welcome him, Corey Coverstone, to the Drum Shuffle. Hey, good afternoon, Corey. How's it going, man?
What's up, dude?
So I know that you're in the van traveling to a show tonight. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. We appreciate it.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Cool, man. Well, on the Drum Shuffle, our tradition is really to start at the beginning. You grew up in the Portland area, is that right?
Yeah, kind of in the suburbs, all around Sherwood, Tigard, Beaverton, the whole area.
I gotcha. Okay, so growing up in Portland, I mean, everybody knows about the art scene in Portland. I mean, was music was that part of your life almost immediately?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I think it all started with my parents being music lovers, particularly of like classic rock, and my dad definitely got me into Van Halen and Alex Van Halen and pointing out the like drum intro for Hot for Teacher and that kind of thing. And my mom loved Aerosmith, and so fell in love with Joey Kramer's playing, and anything in that whole realm of classic rock, Van Halen, Aerosmith, Journey, all that stuff was from an early age, a part of growing up and on my radar.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when did drumming come into your life? I mean, I know you started playing pretty young. Was it school band? Was that really your first exposure to playing yourself, or did you start on your own?
I think it kind of started when my mom got me. She just got me like a cheap student model snare drum from a local music shop, just kind of on a whim to just see and trying to find some stuff that the kid is interested in, and so she just went and got me a snare drum, and so that was the first drum that I had and my first exposure to any kind of drumming. And then I probably played it for like a day or two and then threw it in the closet and didn't touch it for a while. And then later on, I don't know, sometime later, I started banging on pots and pans in the garage, and I would wear these ski gloves, and I had a pair of drumsticks, and then I would bust out the snare drum again and be dancing along and playing the snare with these ski gloves on to ZZ Top and AC/DC and stuff. And then, so it was kind of like a touch and go thing in the beginning, but then it really picked up. Maybe, I don't know, like a year or two after that initial snare drum that she got. And then my dad hopped on Craigslist and we went and found a nice little beginner drum set. And then off I went.
I got you. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a common story amongst a lot of drummers, you try it out and sometimes it doesn't take immediately, but I think the key for all drummers is when you get the first kit, when you get a snare drum, right. I don't think you're real excited about learning, paradiddles and radamakus. You want a drum set so you can rock out. Right. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely.
When you got your first kit, did you start forming, garage bands almost immediately, or did you take lessons? I mean, what was your path?
My path was touching on your note of joining the school band or whatever. That didn't happen until probably a couple of years after I got my kit. I think I got my first kit when I was maybe eight years old or something.
Okay.
So then the school band thing and I played the bells and the snare drum, and that didn't happen until later. But yeah, my path. So once I got the first kit, there was just a lot of playing along to records and kind of trying to figure things out on my own. And a guy that worked with my mom at her office job played drums, and so every once in a while they would do these office kind of potluck, get everybody with their, there was some people that played guitar and sang and drummers, and so I ended up taking lessons with a guy named Wes Kotratz, who I think still plays in the Portland area. He was just a guy that worked with my mom, and so that was the first kind of formal drum lessons I guess I had.
Yeah.
And then forming bands and stuff, that didn't come until a little bit later, but I would show up after I started taking lessons and got my first kid. I would show up at these parties, office parties, and I would bring my kit, and West, who I was studying with at the time, would bring his kid, and then we would do these big office jams after hours, and so that was kind of my first exposure of playing with other musicians. And I think I did the third grade talent show with one of the guitar players from my mom's office. We played Sweet Home Alabama.
Nice.
Yeah. So then from there, yeah, it was probably a couple years after just taking lessons with Wes and playing with my mom's friends from the office who played and were willing to like tolerate playing with a young kid who was probably terrible at drums. And then, yeah, once I like hit probably freshman year in high school, I started to actually jam with people from my school and put bands together and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, you know, I mean, I think it's a very similar story to a lot of folks. And, you know, I mean, I've read some of the stuff, you know, about you. And one of the cool things, and I don't know how far ahead I'm skipping here, but I know that you took lessons with my old friend Nate Morton. You know, Nate is a good friend of the show. We've had him on the show, and I actually was texting with him today, trying to get him scheduled to come back on the show. You know, while he's kind of on a downtime, you know, with The Voice. But when was it? You know, was it high school age that you decided, hey, this is something that I may really want to pursue to try to do, you know, professionally?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't until actually after high school my mom was like, "So, what are you gonna do with your life?" And I was kind of like, "Well, I don't know. Drums are pretty cool, and I'm all right with it." Up until that point, I had played in some, I mean, like fairly successful, like just local Portland bands, and we did some traveling here and there, and played in a band that headlined some festivals in Alaska and stuff like that. So it was like. There was some like, I don't know, I guess low level success happening at that time. And I kind of saw that was cool or whatever. But yeah, definitely after high school, I was kind of pressured to like figure out what I wanted to do. But I mean, up until that point, I was also into like BMX and racing motocross and stuff. So my first thing was that I wanted to like be a professional BMX guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and, like,
sure.
Open up a shop and all that.
Well, and I think some of those things kind of go hand in hand. You know, I mean, like, for example, I know you guys did some shows with Slash, you know, and those guys, you know, Slash wanted to be a BMXer and a skateboarder. He, you know, yeah, absolutely. You know, music was kind of his secondary thing. You know, but like the BMXers, the skateboarders, the motocross guys, you know, a lot of those professionals are musicians as well. It's just they're better at, you know, riding a bike than they are at, you know, playing guitar or whatever. So, which I think is kind of cool.
For me, it was tearing my ACL.
Oh, wow.
Trying to do a 360 off this ledge. And that, I was kind of like, all right, BMX hurts a lot of the time. So I think I'm out. Music's cool.
Corey, you're a young guy, man. You do this drumming thing as long as I have, and it'll start hurting, I promise.
I'm trying to take care of myself and, you know, stretch and do yoga and all that as much as I can.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
But dude, Nate Morton I fucking love that guy. He's like still a mentor to me to this day. I actually probably talked to him like, I don't know, a week ago. And, he said on the phone, he's like, dude, if we were he calls me his little brother. He was like, dude, if we were actual brothers, we wouldn't be any closer than we are right now.
Yeah, man, Nate's just good people, man. Awesome. He's a great dude.
Totally.
And, you know, he's such a monster player. And, you know, when I read that you had taken lessons with him, you know, I connected that dot in my brain and I was like, some of this makes a little more sense now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that was, I met Nate when he was doing a clinic in Seattle, and my mom, when she was like, so what are you going to do with your life? And I didn't want to go to college or anything like that. She just kind of did some research and found this guy, Nate Morton, who was at the time, I think, touring with the American Idol band or something, and was doing some clinics. And so we drove up to Seattle and met him and then kept in touch. And scheduled a lesson in LA with him, and my dad was a long haul truck driver who would go up and down the West Coast, so it kind of worked out perfectly. I could hop in the big rig with him and go down and meet Nate for a 5-6 hour lesson, and then take all the materials and things he was showing me and go back home for a month and shed it and then go back down. I did that for a year or two.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Before I actually moved. Yeah, before I moved to LA.
That is actually an awesome story. And, you know, one of these days when you're writing your biography, you know, it's going to be like, yeah, I literally rode in a big rig to drum lessons with Nate Morton for that's such a cool story, man. That's the only thing that would be any cooler than that is if you hitchhiked to LA, right? I mean, that's
next level. Yeah. Maybe one day if I have kids, I can get them to do that. One with me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, so talk to me a little bit about Dirty Honey and how that happened. I mean, I know you made the move to LA. Did you know any of the guys in the band before you moved to LA, or did the band form after you made that move?
The band formed after I made the move to LA, and not until like several years after I had been living in LA, and I was, you know, taking lessons with guys and kind of being a freelance hired gun. And doing that, I was on a country gig and met up with Justin, the bass player, and because he was also, you know, doing sessions and playing around, and then we just kept in touch. And then like a couple of years later, I don't know, he just hit me up to sub at the basement in Santa Monica where these guys had been playing for a while, and I came in and filled in. I think they didn't quite have a drummer nailed down at the time, and came in and had fun and played the gig, and then afterwards was kind of like, all right, I'll do this, you know. Can I do this?
Yeah. Well, you know,
that was kind of fun.
I think something that's really cool about you, I think for a casual listener that, you know, listens to Dirty Honey's music, they would say, oh, well, Corey's definitely just, you know, a rock drummer, which of course you are. But, you know, you know, some of your influences, you know, first of all, tell us about your influences, but you've got a lot of jazz pedigree as well.
I do. Yeah. It's something that I think, you know, Nate exposed me to, when I first started studying with him. He got me into like listening to Michel Camilo and Cliff Almond on drums, and, Weckl and all those kind of like Latin jazz fusion dudes, and then from there I kind of like went back in time and started listening to like the 50s and 60s bebop stuff, and I still like, it's still a goal of mine to like be a great straight ahead jazz player. I love it.
Yeah.
So I work on it all the time, and I still take lessons, and so yeah, my a lot of my influences are, I mean, my early influences are definitely the classic rock greats, Neil Peart, Alex Van Halen, and Bonham and Keith Moon. But definitely for the last, like, I don't know, several years and still current, it's like Philly Joe, Tony Williams, Steve Gadd. Not that Steve Gadd's so much of like an old school straight ahead guy, but like he's a huge influence. But yeah, Philly, Art Blakey, Tony Williams, definitely been shedding a lot of that stuff lately. Trying to get it honed in, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all still chasing that stuff, you know, 30 years in. I mean, it's some next level drumming, no doubt. But, you know, what I find interesting is when, you know, I mean, I don't know if you guys read your press or not, but I mean, everybody is basically saying, okay, Dirty Honey is the saviors of rock music, you know, and so, I mean, and look, it's undeniable, you know, you guys had a #1 mainstream rock single without a label, you know, I mean, that stuff, you know, is amazing. That's never happened before, ever in the history of music. And
yeah,
the tunes are great. And I love you guys, you know, as an older guy who grew up on the same stuff you did, you know, the classic rock, everything. What I love about you guys is you're authentic. You know, I mean, it's 100% real, and it's not a band that was, you know, put together by some producer someplace. I mean, it's real, and you guys are really playing your instruments, which is just kind of unheard of in this day and age, unfortunately. But, you know, do you feel that pressure? I mean, when you hear those things of like, you know, you guys are the hope for rock music, does that put any additional pressure on you?
No. No. I don't know. I don't care. I focus on what's important to me, and that's my playing and always growing. And I feel like I'm behind the ball, you know, with my level of playing. I took some time off a few years ago working on some personal stuff. And so I feel like I'm playing catch up. So to me, what's important, just, you know, for myself at least, is just focusing on my playing and like trying to get better. And so, I don't feel any pressure or anything like that from press. I mean, people can say all kinds of things.
Well, yeah, and they will, you know, they will say all kinds of things, but, you know, so talk to me a little bit about, you know, the band, about Dirty Honey. I mean, look, I know you guys have done a ton of press, you know, everybody wants to interview you guys, but I want to know from your perspective as the drummer, you know, what is it about the music that you love? I mean, is it, you know, is it the songwriting? Is it the, you know, the tours? I mean, what is it for you that really does it?
I mean, there's a lot of things, really. I mean, it just feels, it feels like home, like, you know, because we're kind of doing a thing that's reminiscent of like all the classic rock stuff that I grew up on and all of us grew up on. And it's like kind of a popular thing now. So it's working and having some success. And that's really cool to be able to, like, I don't know, get up on stage and do my own version or emulation of the stuff I grew up on and have it like have an audience and play. I get to play basically however I want. Like, you know, none of us really tell each other like how to play. We might throw around some ideas, but we all get to totally be ourselves. And you know, another thing that's really fun and that adds I don't know, sort of an interesting challenge to it is that we all take solos live.
Yeah.
And none of that's really rehearsed or worked out, or, you know, we're literally just improvising. And we never, at least for me, like when I get up there and it's my turn to solo, like I don't have anything planned, so I never really know how it's going to work out. And I like that. That's a big challenge and keeps me motivated. And yeah, I mean, playing the songs too is a similar thing. Like, don't really play them exactly the same each night. Different fills here and there, and it's just cool. I can be myself.
Yeah, man, that's well, and it shows, you know. And again, I use the word authentic to describe you guys, and you know, that's sorely lacking in modern music, I think. You know, especially being somebody in the South. You know, I mean, I live in Kentucky. I'm only about 3 hours away from Nashville, and I've got a lot of friends that are in the Nashville scene, and that's all great. But I can't tell any of those country artists apart anymore. They all sound exactly the same. You know what I mean? And it's you guys are a breath of fresh air, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in the modern landscape. And you know, just last week, you guys released an Amazon Music exclusive, and it was a cover of Last Child by Aerosmith. And I think you guys went into the studio with the great Dave Cobb to produce that. And, I listened to it and I was like, man, these guys get it. They get it. It would have been so easy to go in and try to put your own, weird spin on that song. You did some of that, but it stayed very true to the original. And I was like, man, these guys sound a lot like early Aerosmith. It was awesome. So kudos to you all.
Could you tell listening to that it wasn't recorded to a click?
I could not tell, but I knew that it wasn't. Does that make sense? I mean, I've done enough sessions that, your timing was great, but I knew you weren't playing to a click. I just knew, and I don't know.
It was an interesting session because we did a bunch of takes, none of them to a click, and then he went in and chopped up and selected different sections from different takes, and so it's actually there's several takes in what you hear.
That's awesome.
It kind of blows my mind a little bit that it worked pretty seamlessly, not playing to a click. I mean, I feel like I can still hear a little more, certain sections laid back a little bit more, on top a little bit more than others. But it's interesting.
But I mean, if you grew up on classic rock, Bonham never used a click. Keith Moon certainly never used a click. And, Ringo, Charlie, all those guys. And if you listen to those songs and if you try to put a metronome to it, it just doesn't work because they sped up when they got to the chorus and slowed down in the verse. And it's what made those songs breathe,
Right.
Which, I've done both. I've done sessions with a click, without a click. I certainly play a hell of a lot better without one. I'll tell you that right now, and I think most drummers do. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for other drummers. I don't know, but for myself, it depends. I think I'll play better without it if I feel like I've been spent a couple of days previously shedding my time and putting the metronome on 40 and locking in with it. I'll feel better about playing without a click after I've done that for a couple practice sessions versus if I've been working on a bunch of chop stuff.
Yeah.
Then playing without a click, my time doesn't feel as stable. So I don't know. I guess it depends.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I agree with that too. I mean, if I'm going in cold and I've never heard the song before, I typically do want a click. Because you don't want to be the guy that's holding everything up, obviously. But it was a great cover, and I would love to see you guys work more with Dave Cobb. I think obviously his work with some of your contemporaries, Rival Sons comes to mind. I think he would be a great producer for you guys, no doubt.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know that you guys just started, and please correct me if I get this wrong, but you guys just started your first headline tour out on your own. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we did a couple of weeks in November actually of our own headlining tour. It was just a little bit of a shorter, more West Coast focused run. But yeah, this is our first big, full nationwide headlining tour.
Yeah, and the reports are all of the shows are sold out or almost sold out. So that's that's always a good sign that people want to come see it.
Yeah, it's great. The shows have been awesome so far.
Well, that's cool, man. What are the goals? I mean, do you guys have, cohesive goals as a band? I mean, is it something as simple as let's just go do this tour and do as well as we can and then, talk about maybe some new material? Or is it we want a Grammy or we want a platinum record? Or, I mean, I don't know. That's probably not a very good question, but, what is the team goal at this point?
To just, take it as far as we can, I think, just to keep doing what we're doing and try to be honest with the music we're playing and, give people the rock and roll that they want to hear, I guess, or, seems like there's a demand for that.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to do that and take it as far as we can. And we have an awesome team with us, our manager and booking agent and radio guy, and we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah. Now, are you guys
just take it as far as we can?
Yeah, for sure, man. Are you guys writing while you're out on the road as well? I mean, what does the future look like in terms of, new music? I know it's a different industry now than it was, 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. But I mean, are you guys going to continue doing EPs and singles, or are you going to do a full length next? Or has that even been discussed?
Yeah, there's been some discussion of that, and I think what makes the most sense right now, we're leaning towards doing another EP, which will probably be recorded in March.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're writing a bit on the road, and in our sound checks, we experiment with things, and we had some time off over the holidays and got together a few times to try to work out some ideas, and so we've got some new stuff in the works. We're playing a couple new songs in our live set now, trying to flush them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, another EP.
Awesome. Well,
coming at you.
Well, and that's great. I mean, and I think so many artists now, that's what they do, because people don't buy records anymore, for the most part. What is, and I know radio has embraced you guys big time, and you're getting lots of, traditional radio airplay. What are you guys doing on the streaming side, or is that, the bulk of where you're being consumed?
That's a good question that I don't know if I have an accurate answer to.
Okay. All right. Well,
I just show up where they tell me to and bring my practice kit and set up and practice as much as I can, and that's pretty much it.
Brother, that is the most drummer answer you've given.
I might have a lot more to talk about if you want to talk about rudiments and chop ideas on the kit, and
that's
might be a more interesting conversation.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm asking the questions that I ask is because there's so much interest, and I typically don't do the whole business side, interviews with anybody, but you guys are the hot new thing. So talk to me a little bit about.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add to the radio thing. KLOS picked this up early in LA, just kind of on their own. I think they found us on Spotify, and then they just reached out to us. So I don't know. I think radio. I really don't know. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, but that's a good sign when radio stations are like, "Hey, can we play you?" And nobody has ever said no. You know what I'm saying, label or not. Right. So, that's a good sign. But so let me transition a little bit. And, I don't want to dwell too much on, what you guys have already done. It's out there. But talk to me a little bit about how you prepare with new material. You said you had some new songs in the live set. What is your all's writing process like? Does your guitar player come in with a riff and then you guys just kind of jam on it and figure it out, or do you have a set process that you follow?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the key starting points. I think is a riff from John, or a melody and some chords from Mark, and then there's a jamming process that happens. A lot of times, some of the new things will arise out of just messing around. one of the new songs that we're playing in our set started with a riff from John where he was just literally messing around sound checking. And then we're like, oh, keep playing that. And then that evolved into a song. Certain things like EP that's out, that happened from a thing with Justin and Mark that they had worked out. But then when we brought it to the room with all of us, I started it at a whole different tempo and then brought a whole different feel to it. So it's kind of like, there's usually like a seed of something that's started with one of the other guys. And then I feel like my position on it is, I don't know, maybe speaking off of history, it's interpreting it wrongly or not how they were interpreting it, and then it turns into something else.
Yeah. Well, those happy accidents are usually where, hit songs come from, I think. Yeah, happy accidents, right. Bob Ross.
I like that.
So obviously you guys just did this thing with Dave Cobb in Nashville. Was that similar to the recording process that you used for, the first release? I mean, are you guys going into the studio and playing live, or, how do you record, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Dave Cobb was totally live. We just stayed everybody up in the live room and Mark in the ISO booth, and Dave was in the live room with us, just kind of listening and getting some notes here and there. And we just did probably 6 takes or something. It was live, and that was it. And then he cut it together. And the EP, when we did that, it was more like traditional recording process where we're kind of doing drums first. But we did play live together, and then a lot of what's on the EP is what me and Justin tracked together, and then John goes back and redoes guitars, and Mark goes back and redoes vocals. And some of the stuff on that EP is actually we went in and we kind of started demoing the tunes first. So we're just kind of playing through them, getting ideas and whatever. And some of the demo stuff, where at least in my mind, while we're running through the tunes, recording it, I'm thinking, okay, this is the demo. I can kind of experiment, or we're still feeling it out.
Yeah.
And we're not going for it yet. But some of that stuff ended up being what's on the record. Yeah. Like Rollin' Sevens was the first take.
Oh, that's cool.
And only take.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Okay.
It's a mixture of things, I guess. But.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's really cool to hear. And let's talk a little bit about the live shows, because, I know you guys are, again, almost all the shows are sold out, but, we do have folks listening that may scramble out and try to grab a ticket. What should somebody expect coming to their first Dirty Honey live show? I mean, what's it going to be like?
It's gonna kick
ass. Yes.
It's gonna kick ass. It's gonna be like, I think we've all heard that, pretty much every show, somebody will come up to one of us and be like, you guys are better live than in the recording. So I think there's something about the live show that, I don't know, probably more energy comes across, or we've also been playing the songs longer, so we can, from playing so many live shows, new little things here and there get thrown in. There's some jamming that's not on the EP really, that we do live, and we all take solos, and it's just try to keep the energy up, and high energy, kick ass, showing off that stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, and I'm glad you said that, because, I didn't want to assume and say, because, full disclaimer, I have not got to see you guys live yet. I hope to do that very soon.
Come to Nashville.
You know what? I will.
Nashville in like 2 days.
You know what?
Nice.
I will.
I'll get you a ticket.
All right. You're a good man. I will absolutely make that happen. But you know, I didn't want to say you guys are a live band, but I knew that. I wanted you to say that, and you did. What I have seen, you know, everybody's got clips out on YouTube and, you know, social media and stuff. But what I have seen is it's a good, honest to God rock and roll show. There's not a bunch of, you know, laser lights and explosions and, you know, fire breathers and, you know, circus performers. I mean, it is an honest to God, you guys come out and rip for your entire set. And that's what folks should expect.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is sorely missing again in modern music. Corey,
there's no tracks.
Oh yeah, I know. I absolutely know that, which is fantastic. Corey, I want to be respectful of your time. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I know you're in the van trying to get to a show tonight. We really appreciate the time. But, you know, one of the things that we do here on the Drum Shuffle is we tell all of our guests, or allow all of our guests, to give a good piece of advice. You know, it's kind of been a whirlwind ride for you thus far. And, you know, I know that we're just at the very beginning of your story and just getting to know you and Dirty Honey. But, you know, tell us, what have you experienced in that short time, and what advice would you offer to other players?
I feel like there's two things there. I mean, the thing with Dirty Honey, yeah, it's been a crazy ride so far, going from basically just playing in town, doing whatever random gigs, to like traveling essentially full time. It's a big adjustment, just on more of like a lifestyle note. But and I don't know if I've completely figured out that to an extent where I can give advice on it.
Yeah, well,
I'll have to get back to you on that. But as far as playing, I mean, my thing now is just staying humble and staying open to new influences, and just staying disciplined, really. Stay humble, stay disciplined, keep practicing, keep honing in on your craft. I think that's it.
Okay. Well, and that's great advice. So I think I know the answer to this, but do you feel like a rock star? I mean, that's part of the transition, certainly. You know, when your band blows up, which you guys have just exploded onto the scene, I know people probably treat you differently when they run into you, you know, at the gas station or whatever, the grocery store. I mean, that's a huge transition for a young guy, you know? What has that been like for you?
I mean, I'm pretty introverted, so I don't know if I'm totally comfortable with it yet, to be honest. But, I mean, it's cool, and I'm grateful, and people are always really nice and excited to meet us. And it's pretty surreal. It's pretty crazy. But, I mean, I don't feel like a rock star. I don't know if I ever will, because I don't know if it's just not, I don't know. My thing, again, just comes back to the playing. It's like, I just want to be the best musician I can be and let that speak for itself. And wherever that leads me is totally fine by me. So that's where my focus is. So.
Well, that's cool. And I know it's probably too early to say, but, you know, you guys are out on the road for a couple of months. Are you, you know, when you get a break in the whirlwind that you're caught up in, are you going to give lessons and, you know, do studio work with other artists? I mean, what do you want your downtime to look like?
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely open to lessons if people reach out to me, and that's an option. I mean, I spend most of my downtime working on solo projects, you know, in an effort to continue to expand my own, I don't know, artistry, if I can call it that. And so I'm actually getting ready to drop a solo project in the next couple of weeks of all original music, and got some of my favorite session players, Tim LaFave and Jeff Babco, and some other friends playing on it, and trying to still work on the straight ahead jazz thing and play shows at the Blue Whale in LA, and that's my downtime. Basically, just more music.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, that's so cool. So is your solo project going to be released under your name, or is there a band name? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it'll be, I haven't quite figured out all the titles yet, but it'll be under my name, I think, and the album will be called Punch the Shaman. That's a whole other story for another interview.
Sure.
Where that name comes from. But it'll be just kind of a short EP of some more experimental stuff.
Cool.
That I've written over the years.
Cool. Well, we will all keep our eye out for that, and presumably that's going to be out, in the interwebs so people can find it. Before we let you go, do you want to share any, Instagram names, Facebook? What kind of social media do you use? If anybody wants to look you up and follow you, where do they go?
Yeah, sure. Pretty much just on Instagram, and it's just my name, Corey Coverstone. Look it up, man.
Cool.
If you want to.
All right, awesome. Well, we're going to send some folks your way for sure. Brother, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. When you do, yeah, for sure. When you get some downtime, let me know and we will absolutely have you back. I would love for you to kind of tell us how the tour went, how everything was going, and all that good stuff. But we got to do this again for sure.
Sounds great.
All right, man. Well, listen, safe travels. Have a great run out there, and we'll be in touch real soon, okay?
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, guys and girls, that's going to wrap up episode 88 of the Drum Shuffle. Again, many thanks to Corey and his entire team for helping me get that interview set up, and he took time out of his schedule, riding in the van on his way to the next city. That was just really cool to have him on the show. This is a young cat that we all need to watch. These guys are making a whole lot of noise in the industry, and Corey's a big part of that. So if you haven't gotten hooked up with Dirty Honey yet, buy a ticket, buy one of their singles, buy the EP. These kids are doing great things. You're going to want to keep your eye on Corey for the years to come. Hey, thank you guys so very much for tuning in. We cannot do this show without each and every one of you. You guys are like family to us. You're what keeps us going here at the Drum Shuffle. The one favor that I always ask, I'm going to ask again. Hit the thumbs up, give us a star rating over at Apple Podcasts, write a review about the show, hit subscribe on whatever platform you use to listen in. That helps us more than anything. The biggest thing you can do for us, if you like what we're doing at the Drum Shuffle, send the link to a friend. www.thedrumshuffle.com is our web address. As always, we answer every single email that we receive here. The Drum Shuffle Podcast at gmail.com is where you can reach out to us. And of course, you can find more information on me over at jamieeads.com. We have all the social media links, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, Jamie Eads Drummer. Every single episode of the Drum Shuffle is published to that YouTube channel. Follow us in all those places. It helps more than you'll ever know. We have some great guests coming up for you. Still working with the great Scott Hessel from the Gin Blossoms to get his schedule coordinated with us. Nate Morton is going to be back on before too long. We're just trying to iron out all the details. Next week, I'm going to be joined by a great local Central Kentucky drummer, Zach Martin. Great guy, played over 150 shows last year in Central Kentucky alone. He's getting it done. So we're going to be joined by Zach next week. Really excited about that. So hit subscribe. You don't want to miss those. So until next time, everybody, may your head stay strong and your sticks never break. Cheers.